Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm sharing a flip through. This one is all about the fabric journal I created for Tim Holtz Live, where he showcased his Electric Elements Frightful Fabric Collection. I had so much fun making this one, and I'm really excited to share the details. There are 3 canvas cloth fabrics in this collection, and so I've used those for my cover. The weight is perfect, and just check out the graphics. I mean, come on. Those crows, I absolutely love that fabric. On the front cover, I've created a frame of sorts using another canvas cloth. This one is already collaged with all these cool little elements that can be cut apart and used, which I've done throughout the journal. On the cover, I simply cut the center square out to create a frame, and then I've added that little IDEA-OLOGY adornment in the center. I've pinned a safety pin right underneath that frame. From the pin, I have some IDEA-OLOGY bits and bobs hanging. There's a vintage button. This is just one of the reasons I love fabric journals. You can pin things on, sew things on, and of course they're just so tactile and cool. On the inside cover, I've used this gorgeous canvas cloth. You can see at the top left, I've sewn a running stitch, and then I used the thread tails to tie on that metal adornment. I put a little tiny pocket in the center of the inside cover that was cut from that collaged fabric. This tag I've made by gluing some fabric to a piece of cardstock and die cutting that. Super easy little tag. My first page is a tag where I've done a lot of mixed media. I have some grit paste crimped through a stencil, little embossing glaze, mica stains, and then I've taken some fabrics and pieced those together to create a little collage. On his hat is a fussy cut piece of fabric. It's really fun to use fabric just like you would paper ephemera, cut it apart, collage it together, and then you have that really cool texture from the fabric. And I've placed that tag upside down so that I could hang some ball chain and charms from the hole reinforcer. This page, I've done a lot of the same with the grit crypt, embossing glaze, mica stains, and I've die cut those leaves with one of my all-time favorite Tim Holtz dies called leaf fragments. I've sprayed those leaves with mica stains. I think I used a little bit of the new black texture paste as well. And then I fussy cut that little skull from fabric. And I really love how that came out. My next page is a pocket page. I do have a tutorial on how I make these, and I will link that. I've sewn 2 pockets to the front of this page, one top loading, one side loading. In the large pocket, I have a couple tags. I've made these by collaging fabrics together. I love that photo. That is from the same fabric that I shared with you on the front cover. That one is called 31st in the Frightful collection. And I've used the selvaged edge from the fabric for my tag topper. I love that even the selvaged edge of Tim's fabric is so cool. All of my tags are backed with backdrop papers. This way they don't fold or crumple when I take them in and out of the pockets. This tag was made exactly the same way. The butterfly is a Tim Holtz stamp. I've stamped that onto a shattered window transparency and then fussy cut that out, sewn it to the fabric. And I always sew my fabrics together and then back them with paper. And you can see with this kind of a window pocket page, you have the ability to tuck things in from every side. I really like this kind of a pocket. I've used it so many times and it never gets old. I've sewn a doily to this page, creating a really fun pocket. I've sprayed this doily with some mica stains, which in the right light, you can see the flickering of the mica stains. Here's another tag where I've taken cut up fabrics and pieced them back together. That skeleton and skull were not meant to go together, but it was so much fun to see that they matched up. I've backed this one with some more fun Halloween backdrop papers. This one is very cool. I love how Tim's stuff just all mix and matches so well together. This next page is a mix of fabrics and ideology. The fabric envelope was die cut using Tim's postal die. The little charm that's pinned on was made with ideology film strip ribbon and a few stickers from the Halloween sticker book. This is another tag I've made from the 31st fabrics. The butterfly is another one where I've stamped onto transparency and then sewn that to the fabric. This page is a mix of the fabrics, the ideology. I really love mixing paper and fabrics, especially the canvas cloth. It adds such a great texture and feel to the page. While I'm thinking of it, I wanted to give you a tip on die cutting fabric. I would suggest laying a piece of cardstock under your fabric before you run it through your machine. This will give you a nice clean cut the first time through. For example, with my envelope, I took 2 pieces of fabric, laid them wrong sides together on top of the cardstock, laid down my die, ran it through, and that was it. So if you didn't know about this tip, I wanted to pass it along because it's such a great time saver. My next page is again a mix of papers, fabrics. I've used the fabrics cut apart, used them just like you would paper ephemera. I have a lot of ideology on this page and distress products. I've done some stenciling with black texture paste through one of my favorite Tim Holtz stencils. Splattered some mica stain. I have some distress seasonal crayons I've used. The photo in the frame is from the Halloween sticker book. Both the photo and the butterfly have been embossed with frosted crystals. And then I've colored those with some mica stain or mica pearl crayons. So this next page is fun. What I've done with this one is cover the entire backdrop paper with fabric. And then I created 3 flaps that would reveal a photo underneath. This one is an ideology photo. It's from the Halloween pack. Dorothy liked anything spooky. Love that creepy eye from 31st. This one is a paper doll. I've given her a witch hat from the Halloween sticker book. Love that black cat from 31st. That background is one that I had in my stash, and I thought that was perfect for that little photo. I've given this guy a skull from the sticker book, punched holes in his eyes and in the photo. Each of my fabric flip-ups are collaged fabrics, front and back. I've put tabs on each. And so this was a really fun one. I really like how this one came out. So next I want to talk about how I've constructed this book. I had a lot of questions about this. You can see right in the center, this is the center of the book. You can see I've sewn right down the middle and connected all my pages. So each fabric strip between the pages is actually 2 fabrics put back to back. Then I create single pages and put those back to back with the fabric between. So this shows how I have 2 single pages with the fabric between the 2 pages. And once I build all my pages with the fabric strips between, then I just sew right down the center and connect them all to my cover. I hope that that makes sense. I know I'm a visual learner and I know a lot of you are as well. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay, so for my next page, I've mixed all of my favorite Tim Holtz brands here. I have the fabrics, IDEA-OLOGY, distress products, and I just love how they all mix and match so beautifully together. My next page is a large fabric envelope. On the front of that envelope, I have 2 fabric pockets. The tiniest pocket I made for this little spider adornment to live in. He's attached to some chain that I've pinned on to the fabric. This is a fun tag. So I made this one from a shattered window transparency that I've cut down. I took 2 fabrics, put those back to back and sandwiched them between the transparency. I've topped it with an eyelet and a fabric tab. And I really love how this one came out. It's super cute. And then inside of this large envelope, I've created a super big tag. This one, again, I've used shattered. I've hinged it with some fabric so that you can flip the transparency up to reveal the collage underneath. This collage, I have a lot of IDEA-OLOGY, the portrait paper doll. The mask is from the sticker book, some ephemera. I've used some splatters of distress mica stain. And I really like how this one came out. I'm really loving the new Shattered. It's such a great addition to the Halloween line. So this was fun. I wanted to use one of the IDEA-OLOGY test tubes in this project. So what I've done is taken one of my tabs and made it into a sleeve that would fit the test tube. Inside is a photo from the sticker book. It's one of my favorites. And then I've taken some fabric, laid all that down on a piece of paper, rolled it up, stuck it in the tube. And then I do have the cork in the top of the test tube. I've wrapped that with some fabric. I have an eye hook in the top of the cork. And then I was able to use a hook clasp and attach that to the page where I've sewn on that small loop of fabric. I think this would be a fun place to hide a little note or a poem, or even personalize it with family photos. So many options. This next page, I've used 31st as a pocket. I love that that is perfectly collaged already. I've trimmed the top of the pocket with the selvaged edge, and then I've cut that cute pumpkin face and made a pocket from that. Another tag where I've used 31st. Before I began this project, I took a whole section of 31st, cut it apart, and then I was able to use those pieces on my tags in my journal. There are so many creative options with these fabrics. So this tag is a nice big chunky one. I have a lot of fabrics that I've layered onto this one. In the center is a Halloween photo from IDEA-OLOGY. I've used a offcut from my shattered transparencies over the top of her. And then I've used a metal IDEA-OLOGY photo frame, painted that with distress paint. I love the scrappy, chunky vibe of this one. So much fun with the fabrics. The next page, I've die cut a tag from my very favorite Halloween paper. I love this paper. It is so cool. So this page was super easy. I collaged fabrics together, cut Poe from 31st, used him as my focal point, took a strip of fabric, twisted it to create a frame. I've added some buttons. You can see I've used a part of a selvaged edge in my collage. And just like all the pages, I have some fabric tabs. I make those all the same way where I stack fabrics up. Just take strips, stack them up, fold them in half, and then sew those to my pages. My last page, I've used this really fun fabric with the script, and then I've pieced on a few cutouts. That is actually from a fabric of Tim's called Apothecary. This is another fun one that can be cut apart and used like ephemera. The moth is stamped onto a shattered transparency, and I purposely stamped his wing onto the shattered portion. One last tag. I had to use Poe one more time. Again, the pocket is cut from 31st. You can see just how many elements there are in just that one fabric alone. So I hope you have enjoyed looking through this journal with me. Thanks for being here. Appreciate your kind comments. See you in my next video.